ticket.
Yeah, well, the FAA gets really serious with their fines and all that stuff because.
Well, I understand. My issue was that
Yeah.
honestly, he was flying so low that the airplanes would never have gone anywhere near him. But that's still, their their rules are their rules. What are you going to do when they send men with guns? You have to
Yeah.
comply or die. So there is that.
But nonetheless, yeah, I mean, he would probably be an interesting thing with the whole FAA experience, because I would love to ask him. I mean, how that went through, especially since the FAA
They
earlier.
started out with a letter. They sent him a letter in the mail saying that they're going to investigate whether or not he broke their rules. And then a couple months later, he got a fine in the mail. That was about it.
Yeah, pretty much for the two issues where I've had FAA actually look into my flying, they just
Because you've flown over a prison once. I remember that.
Well, I flew around a prison. I didn't actually fly over it.
Oh, I thought you flew over it. Well, okay.
Well,
right.
I flew over the property, but I didn't actually fly over the prison.
The prison building, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've done a correction center. I've done within like less than a mile of an airport. That was a fun one right there. And
which DJI drone do you have?
currently I'm using a Phantom 2, but I actually need to get a replacement battery for that because the one I have is pretty much aged and it's not charging right and all that stuff. There's a lot of it's causing error issues with the main board. So I got to look at getting that properly replaced here soon.
Right on. I would love to film a dog track with a drone. One of the excuse me, I got something caught in my throat. One of the calls that I enjoy filming the most is when they set up a perimeter and they have the dog teams looking for someone, because I just think the dogs are neat. I mean, I think it's horrible that the dogs have been weaponized by the state, but the dogs are still really pretty. I'm an animal lover, so I like to watch the dogs. But I would love to film, the dogs tracking down a suspect in public from the air. I think that would make a very compelling or interesting video.
Yeah, well, how should I put it? It would also, I mean, if you got one of the drone setups where you're able to remote view what's being filmed from the drone's perspective, you can actually get potential to be an extra eyewitness. It's like, oh, he darted out of the bushes when he came over here. He's running that way or whatever. You can sit there and sort of inform the officers or whatever. They're tracking someone.
I would prefer not to work for the cops, but I would prefer to be a watchful eye, because that's just not my thing. I keep myself separate from them, but I publish everything I upload. Because I think both people have to be responsible for their actions. Both cops and criminals. But like I wouldn't on the scene, call the officers over and go, "Hey, the guy's over there." I mean, that's just not my bag. But I think it's important to document everything that they're doing.
Definitely. Well, because you also have those instances where you have the officer where they will sick the dog on the person that actually is surrendering. We've seen video of that. Was it early? It was either at the end of last month or early this month. There was actually video footage of that happening, I think, in 2 different instances. Off the top of my head. But as I said, there's just so much stuff going on, it's hard to keep track of it all.
Oh, yeah. Like, if I had to remember every act of police brutality that got uploaded to the web, my brain would just shut down from overload. I wouldn't be able to handle it. There's just so much so much to keep up with. There's just another instance of cops beating somebody unwarrantedly, or another false arrest story, or another person shot in the back, or another person police have sicked the dog on while they're complying. Like every couple days there's another story. It's crazy. But I think what it really comes down to is police and authority figures are worshipped in our culture because of a cultural sickness. I think we are conditioned from the time that we're children in school to accept contradictions that authority pushes on us. And people just, by the time that you're 18 years old and out of school, you're or actually started college, you're so brainwashed that you just believe anything and go along with any kind of narrative that a quote unquote authority figure tells you that's reality. I mean, it's so weird. I mean, I'll give an example. And you chimed in on this on Facebook, but I basically put a Facebook post up asking why is prostitution legal when it's considered speech, where I logically compared people that are working in a prostitution or a brothel are streetwalkers that are selling their bodies on the street and porno movies, because I see no logical difference. I mean, you're accepting money to have sex. The only difference between somebody who sells their butt on a dirty mattress behind 7-Eleven and somebody who gets paid to make a porno film and take a bukkake to the face, there's women getting ejaculated on their whole face by 8 men, or just getting plowed like they're a squat mattress in the back of a dirty bikers club on video, is the fact that women and men that make porno movies, they're paying all the taxes and the regulatory fees, and they're paying all their duties to the status quo, meaning this, they're propping up the tax system and giving legitimacy to the system that basically steals a third of everyone's income. Everybody that works has a third of their income annually taken away from them by the feds. So I don't really see a difference between the streetwalker and the person in the porno industry, other than the fact that they're paying their taxes like a good slave. I mean, that's about it. They're accepting money for sex. They're being paid to have sex. And a lot of times the streetwalker are just given a hand job or having straight sex with somebody. The people in the porno movies are doing stuff that's quite a bit more demeaning and degrading, and it's considered art. It's considered free speech. It's considered free speech to take a poop on somebody's chest, and then lick it off and have sex with them. But it's not, and that's protected activity if it's on video. But if a girl gives a hand job or a guy gives a hand job in the backseat of somebody's car, then all of a sudden they're doing something that's morally incorrect. I just don't get it.
Well,
I really don't.
The way they sort of have that distinction, it has to be, if I remember correctly in the court case that is referring to all that, was that it has to be actually something that's published, or eventually published, or is set to be published or something like that.
Sure.
There's got to be certain paperwork signed, certain check boxes done. And I mean, as is the really filthy rich people that really want to skate by on the legal side of things. They just have their own little tiny porno business or whatever and do their thing on the side there. And if they publish it, I think it's published in some sort of shanty backroom store that no one goes to kind of thing. That's how they get away with it, because no one knows about it. It's published, but for all legal intents purposes, yeah, it's completely legal because it was put on camera and been published on a DVD or put on the web or put on the dark web or put somewhere where someone, if they have access to it, they can pay and see it or whatever, or however they got that worked out. It's just a really messed up thing. And as is for me, I view the sex industry, for the most part, when it comes to the prostitution, that should be regulated sort of similar to the porn industry. And so this way there could be proper medical treatment and better prevention on the spread of STDs and other possibly sexually blood or bodily fluid transmitted diseases that are out there.
Well, I know San Francisco has a sex workers union for the whole city. Like all the people that work in the strip clubs and all that, they're actually unionized, and that was done mostly by the progenitors of this were mostly women. They took control of that themselves and decided that they no longer wanted their fate, their economic and their physical health, the fate of their physical health, to be determined by a few mobsters and city officials making backroom deals. So they unionized themselves.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, I learning new stuff every single day. So I never even knew about that part.
Yeah, there's a San Francisco sex workers union, and it was primarily headed up by women.
Yeah, and as I mean, like certain European countries where they have prostitution legalized, from my understanding, is after the full legalization process and getting the kinks worked out, sex crimes have actually gone down. Which might be a big benefit over here in the United States, too, because if someone is got that urge or whatever, they got to scratch it, they're probably going to be less likely to go and rape someone and probably just go and pay someone to go have sex or something like that.